Welcome to this lesson. So in this lesson, we want to look at how you can rationalize denominator. Remember in the previous lesson, we looked at sort conjugates and how to find them, okay? By simply, you find conjugate by simply changing the sign in between the sort uh, and the second sort or the second number. So rationalizing denominator. Rationalizing denominator is the process of eliminating sort at the denominator, because when you simplify an expression and you have sort at the denominator, it is said that your answer is not yet in simplest form. So for you to have the answer in simplest form, you have to make sure that there is no sort at the denominator. Okay, so that is the purpose of rationalizing. Rationalizing is simply changing a sort at the denominator to a rational number by, and the process is just to multiply the sort by its conjugate. So you multiply numerator and denominator of the sort by its conjugate. So that is the method. So as a rule, so let's write it down. We have rule A. If you have A all over root B, if you want to rationalize, we have A all over root B times root B all over root B. Okay, so you remember when you multiply a sort by itself, the answer is not a sort. So we have A root B all over root B times root B will give us B. So this sort now has been rationalized, because what we have at the denominator of the final expression is no longer a sort. So this sort is in simplest form. Also, if we have a sort like this, A minus root B all over C plus root D. If you want to rationalize this one, you simply multiply the numerator and denominator by the conjugate of the denominator. So that will be A minus root B all over C plus root D. Conjugate of C plus root D, remember, you simply change the sign to minus. So that will be C minus root D all over C minus root D. Okay, so this is how you rationalize, and then your expression will be A minus root B parenthesis C minus root D all over C plus root D parenthesis C minus root D. Okay, and then as a rule, remember when you are multiplying sort and its conjugate, you use the difference of two square formula. Okay, so the difference of two square formula will give us A minus root B into C minus root D all over C square minus D. So first term square minus second term square, root D square will be D. Okay, root D times root D will give us just D. And this is what we have. So this is how you can rationalize denominator. This is the principle of rationalizing denominator. Now let's look at examples. So in numbers like 6 over root 2 or 9 over root 5 minus root 2, we have divided by a sort. So it is customary to simplify these numbers by rewriting them without the sort in the denominator. So this can be achieved by using the rule above. So the rule we just simplify above. Okay. So conjugate method. So conjugate, to remove the sort in the denominator of a fraction, multiply both the numerator and the denominator by the sort conjugate of the denominator. Let's take these examples. Example 1. Write the following. Write with integer denominator. So simply rationalize the denominator. So we'll take A first. 1 over 3 plus root 2. So if you remember, conjugate of 3 plus root 2 will be 3 minus root 2. So you multiply the sort by the conjugate, both at numerator and denominator. So we have 3 minus root 2 all over 3 minus root 2. Okay, and then if we simplify that, we have 3 minus root 2 all over, when you are multiplying conjugate, multiply the first together, 3 times 3, 9, and root 2 times root 2, that will be 2. So 9 minus 2 will be 7. So we have 3 minus 2 all over 7. So this sort has been simplified, and then we have integer at the denominator. So it is no longer, it is now in a rationalized denominator form. Okay, it is in simplest form. So let's look at h. h 1 plus root 5 all over 2 minus root 5. So multiply this sort by the conjugate of the denominator. So that would be 1 plus root 5 all over 2 minus root 5 multiplied by the conjugate will be change the sign at the denominator to plus, so that will be 2 plus root 5 all over 2 plus root 5. Okay, and then what do we have there? 1 plus root 5 into 2 plus root 5 all over 2 minus root 5 into 2 plus root 5. And then if we simplify this further, expanding numerator, remember you need to expand and simplify the numerator even though you are rationalizing. Okay, very important. So this will give us 1 times 2, that is 2. 1 times root 5 plus root 5. Root 5 times 2, that's 2 plus 2 root 5 rather, sorry. Root 5 times root 5, and then we have 5 all over. To multiply conjugate, multiply the first 2 times 2, that will be 4, but minus that, because plus times minus is minus, root 5 times root 5, that will just be 5. So if we simplify this expression, we have collect like terms now. So that will be 2 plus 5 plus 1 plus 2 root 5 all over 4 minus 5, which is minus 1. So we have 7 plus 3 root 5 all over minus 1, which is minus 7 minus 3 root 5. And that is the answer that we are going to have. So that is what we simply have there. So this is how you can rationalize denominators. Very simple. So pause the video and take this question F, and let's see what you get. Okay, it should be done now, so let's see what your answer is. Okay, so we have F root 3 all over 4 minus root 3. So rationalize, we have the conjugate is 4 plus root 3 all over 4 plus root 3. And then if you multiply them together, we have this all over 4 minus root 3 into 4 plus root 3. So this is 4 root 3 plus root 3 times root 3, that will be 3 all over 4 times 4, that will be 16 minus root 3 times root 3. So that will be 3. So we have, we can't simplify that further, so numerator remain as it is, plus root 3 all over 16 minus this, so that is 13. So that is the final answer. So if you get it correctly, let's mark your steps. So here, mark yourself here, mark yourself here. So this is 2, 1, 1, and then so give yourself 4 marks. Right, let's see if we have if we can get one more question, and then we just end it here. So write with an integer denominator, that is rationalize the denominator of this sort. So let's see this example number 2. Square root of 11 minus square root of 14 all over square root of 11 plus square root of 14. So to rationalize, multiply by the conjugate of the denominator. We have square root of 11 minus square root of 14 all over square root of 11 minus square root of 14. So we have this, so the square root there, sorry. So if we multiply that, that will be square root of 11 minus square root of 14 squared all over square root of 11 plus square root of 14 all over square root of 11 minus square root of 14. Okay, so this is what we have. So we have if we use our difference of two square formula, so this will be square root of 11 squared minus 2 into square root of 11 times square root of 14 plus minus times minus, that's plus square root of 14 squared all over. So this one, square root of 11 squared minus square root of 14 squared. Okay, so that is what we are going to have. So that will be this answer. So square root of 11 squared, we have 11 minus 11 times 14. So we need to multiply 11 and 14. So that's 154. So minus 2 square root of 154. Square root of 14 squared, that will be 14. All over square root of 11 squared, that is 11, minus square root of 14 squared, that is 14. So if we collect like terms here, we have 11 plus 14 minus 2 square root of 154 all over 11 minus 14, which is minus 3, right? So 11 plus 14, that will be 25 minus 2 square root of 154 all over minus 3. So we need to multiply the everything by minus. Minus times plus, that will be minus. Minus times minus, that will be plus. So we simply have this final answer. Minus 25 plus 2 root 154 all over 3. And that is what we have as the final answer. So the denominator is no longer a surd, and that is our aim, to rationalize this denominator. So this is the hardest question you can have. No matter how the question is, just multiply step by step, apply your expansion method and collect like terms, and make sure when you simplify, the denominator is no longer a surd. So in our next lesson, we'll be looking at equality of surds. See you then. Bye.